morning. I'm Joan Lennon. It is Friday, April 22nd. We are aboard the USS Iowa, one of only 4 battleships in our United States Navy. We are in the New York Harbor, specifically right on the Hudson River, pointing toward downtown Manhattan. And behind us here is the Palisades of New Jersey. We are here because it is Fleet Week. And on that note, we have quite a greeting committee. Good morning, guys.
That's a way to wake up.
Nice having it in person, you know. And with me sitting in for Charlie is our newest daddy, Steve Fox.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Pictures will come later.
Pictures later
how
in the
is
program,
everybody? How's
Everybody's
everybody?
fine. Mom's fine. Baby is fine.
We're all amazed that you are here this morning. I know you got maybe 2 hours sleep last night.
About that.
Yeah.
But it was 2 good solid hours, not like the night before.
Good.
Anyhow, let's get to it. We have a lot ahead of us this morning here on the USS Iowa. We're going to meet some of the men and women who work on this ship, who keep it ready for action if necessary. We'll see how they live. Plus, we're going to talk with some of the top U.S. Navy brass, including the Chief of Navy Operations. First, though, let's go to Spencer Christian. Spence, where are you?
Well, Steve, I'm doing carrier duty this morning. I'm on the USS America. We're just off Staten Island, which is right behind me there. A little chilly here off Staten Island this morning. We're going to take a look at operations here on the carrier and see just what goes on board this floating city. We'll meet the skipper, and we'll take a look at other things here. But first, let's go to Washington, where Jed Duval has the latest in the news. Jed?
Good morning, Spencer. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. A little more.
For carrier, the USS America. Good morning again, Spence.
Good morning again, Joan. It's a little chilly here, as I might have told you earlier, and it's chilly over much of the Northeast this morning. Let's take a look at what's going on with the weather. The jet stream has a position that's kind of strange for this time of year. Continued stormy in the west over the Rockies. A lot of storminess going on out there. But it is hot, hazy, and humid, the 3 H's in the southeast, just as you might expect this time of year, but still chilly up in the northeast, almost winter-like, in fact, over the north-central states. There is snow falling over a wide area over South Dakota and the northern Rockies. A gray and damp day will prevail over much of the west with heavy rainfall in most locations, but snow in the higher elevations of the Rockies and the Sierras. Down in the southeast, it's going to be very warm under sunny skies. Highs will soar into the 90s. Same picture over much of Texas and the southern plains. That's a look at the national weather, and here's a look at the weather where you are.
30 degrees in downtown Buffalo. The forecast calls for a sunny day, a high 55. More about the weather on Eyewitness News this morning.
And joining me now is the skipper, the commanding officer of this vessel, Captain James Blair. Good to have you out here in the cold air this morning. Pretty good.
Welcome aboard America.
Well, it's good to be here. Good to be here. I would like for you to talk a little bit about the size of this vessel, just to give the viewers at home some idea of how big this thing really is. Something about the dimensions, the number of people on board, and just what you do here.
We're 85,000 tons, and we're 1,050 feet long, and we have around 5,000 people aboard with the air wing from Carrier Air Wing 1, and we have around 86 airplanes aboard here, and we serve about 22,000 meals a day, and that's kind of what we do. We're a city of 5,000 people that never sleep.
I was going to say, it's a lot like a floating city here. In order to serve 5,000 people, you must have all the conveniences and the shops and barber shops and things like that.
We have barber shops. We have our own television station. We have our own medical department. We have the library, and all the services that support the city we have aboard here.
In addition to that, a little bit of military capability.
Yes, sir.
Good to have you. Good to have you here this morning. Thanks for coming out in the cold. And we'll have more weather and more from the super carrier America in the next half hour. Steve?
You know, Spence, you're right. It is a little nippy out here. Anyhow, this ship, the USS Iowa, is not anywhere near as large as the supercarrier where Spencer is, but it's still big enough for 1,500 men and 60 or so officers who are proud to serve on this ship with its distinguished heritage and special place in military history. When you say the word battleship, a specific image comes to mind. These are big ships with big guns.
We have enormous power embodied in the 16-inch. A simple analogy to the weight of the projectile and the range to which we're throwing it to is to take a Volkswagen and mash it down into a hunk of steel and fire it out of this gun. Well, it'll go about 21 miles.
Battleships were designed to do 2 things: project firepower and take a hit without getting knocked out of a fight. The USS Iowa has served that mission during all 3 of its lives in the U.S. Navy. Built during the early years of World War II, Her first official function was to transport FDR to Tehran in 1943. There, the President, Churchill, and Stalin agreed to fight as allies against Germany. This porcelain tub was installed for FDR's voyage. It remains today the only bathtub on any U.S. warship. Later, the Iowa saw action in the Pacific against Japanese forces, but after the war was decommissioned and put into mothballs along with other battleships. The Korean conflict brought a new lease on life. The Iowa became the flagship of the 7th Fleet. In just 6 months off Korea, Iowa fired more than twice as many rounds as in all of World War II. After Korea, peacetime economies and a need to modernize once again sent the Iowa back to the mothball fleet. It appeared this would be her final resting place, slowly rusting away, a reminder of the days when the mighty battleship ruled the seas.
All stations men are ready.
But today, after a 26-year retirement, Iowa and 3 of her sister battleships have once again become key factors in U.S. naval strategy. The old traditions are still alive, although now surrounded by an array of modern conveniences. The ship has its own dentist's office, barber shop, post office, and newspaper. But the Iowa's distinguished heritage remains its hallmark.
Bringing the battleship back into service shows that the United States is strong, that we are proud, we are very proud, our Navy is proud.
This is the best ship in the Navy as far as I'm concerned. It's the one that I serve on. Yes, we're ready to go anywhere, anytime.
Of course, I'm very partisan in this, but take a great deal of pride in saying that being a battleship sailor is being the best of sailors on the best ships. We can go any place and do just about anything, and that's what we've been proving over the last 4 years.
Thank you. And joining us now is the commanding officer of the USS Iowa, Captain Larry Sequist. Good morning, Captain.
Good morning and welcome aboard the battleship.
It's nice to be here. I got to ask you this question, though. It's an impressive-looking ship, but it is also, as we pointed out, an older ship. We're sitting on a wooden deck. A lot of people are wondering, how can a ship that's almost half a century old really be effective in today's modern technological military world?
Well, this is not a museum. It's a ship with a rich history. It does have 45 years of age. It was born here in Brooklyn. But the fact is, it was an extremely well-built ship of very fine materials to an excellent design, and something that's made well is going to last a long time. We expect the ship to last another 25 or 30 years. It's been modernized with modern missiles, modern computers. It's a terrific ship with a great future.
I read, I believe, in doing the research for this today's show, that there's 12 to 16 inches of steel protecting the ship in parts?
Some places 17 inches.
Isn't that something?
Yes.
Now, what about this controversy about nuclear weapons on board the ship? As you know, as U.S. military policy, you can't confirm or deny whether the Iowa carries it. But a lot of people don't like the fact that nuclear weapons are here in New York Harbor, or maybe in New York Harbor. What do you say to those people?
Well, I would say a couple of things. First, what comes to mind is that the freedom of speech, the ability to say, express feelings about peace is a very important freedom of ours. It's a freedom that takes defending. And the history is perfectly clear. I think if history slaps you in the face with the fact that you need to defend our freedoms, the freedoms we enjoy in this country.
Yeah, but what about the concern about the weapons? Nuclear weapons here, right this close to New York.
The weapons are safe. They're part of our family of systems at the moment. And I think, again, what's important to focus on is the fact that this ship, with all the weapon systems that we have, are actively engaged in the cause of peace.
Well, thank you very much for being with us this morning, Captain. What are you going to do here on shore leave?
Like our sailors, we're here to enjoy the liberty in New York. New York is a great sailors' town, and we're really pleased to be your guest.
Always has been. Thanks very much, Captain. We'll be right back with the Chief of Naval Operations. Stay with us.
People come from all over the world to amuse themselves in our gardens. But if my lawns and gardens aren't perfect, I am not amused. That's why my entire staff of 45 gardeners regularly uses Green Sweep, lawn food and weed and feed. Just hook up a hose and spray. The results keep me smiling. And when you work with the characters I do, it's important to fit in.
Green Sweep, the official lawn and garden products of Disneyland.
Welcome to Big L Distributors, the window and door specialist. Western New York's largest selection of windows and doors. Whether you're a homeowner or a contractor, whether you're building or remodeling, whether you do it yourself or hire a professional, we think you should know the facts. At Big L Distributors, our only business is windows and doors. We can help you make the right choice. Remember, if it's a window or a door, our people know more.
Big L Distributors, 1800 Broadway, just east of Bailey.
This is a European designer suit with a cosmopolitan flair. And this is the classic American suit. Both were designed by the great Aldo Cassini, who chose Aldo CFO for his exclusive collection. The European single or double-breasted cut with a stylish non-vented back and pleated pants, or the American traditional vented for a more comfortable fit. Style with a flair or classic sophistication. Designed by Aldo Cassini for Aldo CFO. Great suits, Aldo.
Thank you, Rick.
Critics are calling The Milagro Beanfield War a funny and absolutely delightful comedy. Joel Siegel of Good Morning America says, an incredible cast, beautifully directed by Robert Redford. Milagro is wonderful. And the Toronto Sun calls Milagro genuinely funny and uplifting. Robert Redford really does make a miracle. The Milagro Beanfield War, rated R. Now playing at select theaters.
Good morning, America. My name is Petty Officer John Trail. I'm stationed at Subic Bay Naval Station, Philippines. I'm from Harlan County, Kentucky, and I'd like to say hello to my parents. Hello, Mom and Dad.
It is now 7:18. We are back aboard the USS Iowa. The U.S. Navy was put to the test earlier this week when it engaged Iranian forces in the Persian Gulf. Of course, the Persian Gulf is just one of many regions around the world where the U.S. Navy shows the flag. Admiral Carlisle A.H. Trost is the Chief of Naval Operations, and he joins us this morning from the Pentagon. And good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
I'm fine. Admiral, you want to assess for us the outcome of the battle earlier this week, and what did the U.S. Navy accomplish?
Well, I'd assess it, first of all, as an example of the outstanding performance and the professionalism that we expect of our military people in today's Navy as well as in the rest of our armed forces. They were met with a challenge, and they did an absolutely superb job in meeting it and overcoming it.
The whole chain of events started when one of our ships, the Samuel B. Roberts, hit a mine, which brings up the question, of course, of whether we have enough minesweepers in the Persian Gulf.
Well, that question's always brought up, and of course, there never could be enough minesweepers in the entire world if we were to permit indiscriminate mining of international waters. In this case, in the Persian Gulf today are a number of our minesweepers as well as those of our European allies who are helping sweep the fields when mines are discovered.
Admiral, there was a report in Thursday's Washington Post that said the White House is thinking of expanding our naval operations in the Persian Gulf to protect at least some non-U.S. flagged vessels. If that does happen, is the Navy ready?
I think we're ready for any mission that's given us. You know, we do reassess after each operation what we need to do the job, whether we have too much or too little, and if more is called for, more is available.
All right, we'll step back from the Gulf for a moment and take a look at the Navy overall. There was, of course, a lot of concern a decade ago that our Navy just wasn't prepared. Bring us up to date now. Is today's Navy ship shape and prepared?
I'd say very, very much more so. There's truly no comparison between the Navy of a decade ago, the armed forces of a decade ago, and today. We've benefited from the very strong support we've had from the Congress and the people of this country over the last 7 years. We have good, competent, well-trained professional people who are staying with us in unprecedented numbers. We are ready.
And in terms of numbers, sheer numbers as far as ships and personnel, it has increased tremendously, I understand.
It has that. Our personnel have increased by about 75,000 people to about a level of 590,000 today in our Navy. Our ship count 10 years ago was 479. Today it's nearing 570. More importantly, the capabilities and the newness of that fleet and its readiness has improved markedly.
You say we're up to 570. I know that there's the goal of 600 ships in the fleet. In fact, former Navy Secretary James Webb resigned earlier this year over that point. Why the magic number 600? Explain how you reached that number.
Well, you could look at 600 as sort of a shorthand description of the capability we were seeking, that capability necessary to do the job in meeting this country's commitments at an acceptable level of risk. more important than the numbers, if I may, is the constitution of that particular group. The 15 carrier battle groups, the 4 battle groups centered around ships like Iowa, the 100 submarines, the support ships, the amphibious lift, that give us that capability, which is essentially intact and remains the goal.
And how would you compare our Navy to that of the Soviet Union?
Well, I'd have to say that today I feel confident that we could meet any challenge that faces us. Having said that, I say that because of the support and the buildup we've enjoyed in this decade. That's why people like me are such strong proponents for continued support of our military forces.
There are some who say that we are building the wrong kind of ships, big ships, that we should be concentrating in other areas. What would you say to them?
I'd say we disagree. We've proven that no matter what the task, be it peacetime crisis control or a greater contingency, we're ready for it. We have the ships which people who've dedicated their lives to this profession feel are those necessary to meet the threat and meet our commitments. So I'll stick with them.
Admiral Trust, thank you very much for being with us this morning. And we are, of course, here in the New York Harbor as part of Fleet Week, which for years has been celebrated in San Francisco. Now New York City is hosting what was supposed to become now an annual affair where we honor all of our U.S. servicemen, men and women alike. And we'll be back in just a moment.
Good morning, everybody. It's 32 degrees in downtown Buffalo at 7:23. I'm Brian Cale in the Channel 7 studios, and this is Eyewitness News this morning. The president of Buffalo State College is reportedly headed for a major new assignment. Dr. Bruce Johnstone is expected to be named chancellor of the state university system when trustees meet next week. Johnstone has confirmed both the job offer and his decision to accept. He would replace Clifton Horton Jr. as chief administrator of the nation's largest state university system. The Buffalo Area Chamber of Commerce could decide the future of its embattled president when the full board meets on Monday. And as our Anthony Moore reports, they have new information on which to base that decision.
Sources close to the case tell Eyewitness News the 2 investigations of Buffalo's Chamber of Commerce are making serious progress. The county comptroller is 5 weeks into an audit of the agency's books. The state attorney general several weeks more into his own probe. And it all centers around Chamber President Eric Swider. Now, Eyewitness News has learned investigators Wednesday gave the Chamber's top board members a detailed report on what they've turned up so far. Investigation sources have told Eyewitness News of how Swider misappropriated money, allowing family members to charge personal purchases on Chamber credit cards. Swider has admitted he gave Chamber money to his son's basketball team for a trip, then paid it back. But since investigators began looking into the charges, Swider has remained mum.
When the Attorney General leads that investigation, I'm satisfied that
Eyewitness News has learned investigators have not turned up anything worth a criminal charge against Swider. Nevertheless, sources say Swider may resign as Chamber president. Swider himself isn't talking tonight, but on Monday there is a full Chamber board meeting. That may be when Swider ends his up-and-down association with the Chamber. Anthony Moore, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Well, Eyewitness News this morning continues a tragedy in Cattaraugus County.
Eyewitness News this morning is brought to you by Very Fine Fruit Juices.
Uh-oh.
Out of juice?
In the last year, a lot of people have been coming over to Lincoln Mercury. Cadillac owners, Buick owners, and import owners have been coming over. And what they've been getting from their Lincoln Mercury dealers is a commitment to customer satisfaction before, during, and after the sale. And with good reason. Because when you sell cars that are known for their quality and style, that's how you treat your customers, with quality and style.
Come on over to your Lincoln Mercury dealer today.
Value-packed bargain days are coming. Is everybody ready?
Prices marked low, sir.
Friendly service ready, sir.
What about the merchandise?
To prepare for value-packed bargain days, we've stocked our shelves high with merchandise from Director's Chair, Snap Seal, Peachtree, Valcraft, Emco, Flowtech at your neighborhood value home center.
Can we help you?
One teenager is dead, another in critical condition, and a third facing probable criminal charges this morning. This after the car they were riding in crashed in the Cattaraugus County town of Olean. It happened on East River Road shortly before 10 o'clock last night. Dead is 17-year-old Dustin Fleming of Oak Street in the village of Allegheny. 18-year-old Joel Yachties of Olean is critical at ECMC in Buffalo. The driver, 17-year-old Scott Cole of Allegheny, was admitted to Olean General. State police say he may be charged with speeding and DWI. A Buffalo man is charged with murder and the shooting death of a nurse's aide outside Millard Fillmore Hospital. 28-year-old Carol White was gunned down on the steps of the nursing school as she left work yesterday afternoon. The shooting was witnessed not only by a number of hospital employees, but also by the victim's mother.
I went to the hospital to pick up my daughter, sitting in the car, waiting. After a while, I saw her come out and David right behind her with a long trench coat on. I saw him take the car, the rifle, and shoot her twice, shoot her down, and run down the street right by me.
The victim was rushed into the hospital's emergency room where she subsequently died of gunshot wounds to the neck and head. A rifle was recovered at the scene, and a Winslow Street man, Gaston Rando, then turned himself into Precinct 6 police. Lawmen say Randall had apparently ingested a caustic soda, and he was taken to ECMC for treatment. He's charged with second-degree murder and possession of a dangerous weapon. Back with the weather after this.
Eyewitness News this morning is brought to you by the Restonic mattress dealers.
Most mattresses ignore the fact that 2/3 of a person's body weight rests in the middle. The result? Most folks spend 1/3 of their lives in a rut. The solution? The marvelous middle from Restonic. Underneath these posture lines is a one-of-a-kind system that supports you very comfortably for a very long time. So treat your middle to our middle, the marvelous middle from Restonic, and give your body a break.
I can't! Available at Bradner's Gallery, Olean.
There is a season to love, there is a reason, and someone who cares by your side. A time to be born, a time to heal, a time to laugh, a time to feel, a time to carry the strength of the shield.
Pickway Shoes half-price sale of athletic shoes for the entire family. Buy these men's Converse court shoes at regular price. Get these boys Sprints high tops for half price. Buy these women's fitness shoes at regular price. Get these girls Oxfords for half price. Converse, Puma, Pro Sprints, our entire stock of athletic shoes. Buy any pair at regular price. Get a second pair of equal or lower value for half price. Pickway Shoes half-price athletic shoes sale.
32 degrees now, and the forecast calls for a sunny day. A high about 55. Tonight, partly cloudy, a low of 38. Tomorrow, cloudy, windy with showers. The high about 60. That's it for now. More at 8:23. I'm Brian Kale. Back to Good Morning America.
Good morning, America. My name is Quartermaster Seaman Jared Arakaki. I'm overlooking the beautiful beach of Hanauma Bay in Honolulu, Hawaii. I'd like to say hello to all the people in Waianae and to all the local brothers on the USS Willamette.
All right, good morning, everyone. I'm Joan London. It is Friday, April 22nd. That's a nice place to be stationed. This morning, though, we are going to be saluting America's sailors all throughout our world because we are helping to celebrate Fleet Week here in New York Harbor. And we are aboard this morning the USS Iowa, one of 4 battleships owned by our Navy. And I am here with our newest daddy, Steve Fox, who's
proud to
in
be
this morning for Charlie.
Dad man, they're calling me now.
Everyone's fine, right?
Everybody's fine. Mom and baby are fine. Anyhow, a big concern for the sailors on board this ship, as throughout the entire Navy, is the families they leave behind. The Iowa was recently out on a tour for more than half a year. We're going to take a look at what the Navy is doing to make life better for the families of sailors. First, though, let's check in with Spencer Christian. Spence?
Steve, here on the aircraft carrier America, it's sort of like living in an airport control tower. We are going to take a look at the flight operations here and talk to the air boss who makes them work. Right now, let's go to Paula Zahn in Washington with the news. Paula?
Thank you, Spencer. Good morning, everyone. Secretary of State George Shultz is in Moscow wrapping up 2 days of talks with Soviet officials in preparation for next month's superpower summit. This morning, Soviet leader Gorbachev told Shultz the superpowers are marking time on major issues. Both sides agree that little progress has been made on a proposed agreement to reduce long-range nuclear missiles. A woman collecting seashells on a beach in Scotland has discovered what are said to be sensitive documents about U.S. Navy nuclear submarines. According to the newspaper The Scotsman, more than 300 pages were found last Friday. They contained a breakdown of the U.S. Navy's nuclear force based at Holy Loch. Navy spokesmen have refused comment. An unidentified ship, believed to be a tanker, was discovered broken in half and burning this morning about 800 miles off the coast of Nova Scotia. A research vessel found the burning bow and stern about 2 miles apart. The lifeboat was missing, and a search is on for survivors who may have abandoned the ship. The hijackers of a Kuwaiti jet reportedly were flown to Syria, then allowed to make their way to Beirut. According to the New York Times, the gunman left Algeria Wednesday, the day the ordeal ended, on a private jet. In Kuwait, Hillary Bowker reports on the national celebration over the return of the former captives.
It looked like all of Kuwait converged at the airport last night to celebrate the hostages' return. Hours before the plane arrived, thousands were literally dancing in the streets outside the terminal. But for some, the moments of jubilation were tinged with doubt.
We let the hijacks free, it's not the good thing.
The killers must be killed, and we must kill them.
Inside the terminal, vengeance was the last thing on people's minds. For Kuwait's rulers and their people, this was a hero's welcome. Within this very public event, there were some very private and emotional reunions. The end of a 15-day ordeal for the hostages and the country made Kuwaitis giddy with joy. Hillary Bowker, ABC News, Kuwait.
President Reagan reportedly summoned Attorney General Edwin Meese to a private meeting Wednesday after Mr. Reagan met with 2 former Justice Department officials who said Meese had violated ethical standards. Arnold Burns and William Weld resigned last month. In the White House meeting, Weld told Reagan if he were the special prosecutor in a criminal investigation of Meese, he would seek an indictment. This evening on World News Tonight, Peter Jennings has a profile of the person of the week. And tonight on ABC's 2020 at 10 p.m., 9 Central Time, a report on practice Air Force maneuvers that led to a fatal crash. And finally, a debate about the Bard. Shakespearean scholars are arguing whether the Bard of Avon is the author of a poem discovered last year in a California library. The work, 62 lines of verse, is signed with initials that could be either WSH or WSK. It will be published in England tomorrow, the 424th anniversary of Shakespeare's birth. And that's the news for now. Back to you, Steve.
Thanks very much, Paula. It's 7:34. Stay with us. We'll be back with more from the USS Iowa after this.
If you've got hay fever, sneezing, watery eyes, you don't have to suffer. You can put your hay fever to sleep while you stay awake. Last year, millions of people did. See your doctor.
Merrill Dow Pharmaceuticals.
Guess what's big? Plump. Juicy. And gives post-Raisin Bran its big taste. Stay tuned.
Well, when they told me I'd have to rise to the occasion during this program, I never took it quite so literally. But right now we are rising to the occasion. You can see this elevator is big enough to hold an A-6 bomber and fast enough to bring it up from the deck down below in under 30 seconds. Right now, joining me is Deck Officer Jimmy McLaughlin, who's going to explain how things work around here. Good to have you with us. Just what are our deck officers' responsibilities?
Basically to coordinate all the movement of the aircraft on the flight deck to make sure they get where they're supposed to be on time.
Well, now, you've got airplanes here being catapulted off the deck. You've got planes landing. You've got a lot going on here all at the same time. What's the most critical thing in terms of timing so that everything is coordinated properly and runs smoothly?
The space to work with to make them be where they have to be. Some have to be shooting off the catapult, some are launching, some are recovering. And my job is to make sure that I have the space to get them where they're supposed to be.
Ever have any close calls on deck here?
Closest calls is one came in one day with the main mount collapsed.
You haven't lost anyone
Closest
yet.
one I've had, no.
But timing is very important. I mean, split-second timing. You really have to be alert all the time.
That's right.
Yes. Well, more power to you. Thanks for coming to join us on this chilly morning.
Thank you.
Good to see you. We're going to take a little weather right now and see what's going on around the nation as I shiver and freeze here in New York Harbor. It's going to be a pretty decent day for much of the southern states, the southeast particularly. We'll have sunny skies, very warm conditions. Highs should soar up into the 90s over portions of Florida and southern Texas, but it's going to be a rainy day in the Ohio and Mississippi valleys. And out west, over the Rockies, it's going to be an awful day. A lot of clouds and rain, snow over the higher elevations. Roads in some areas will be impassable in portions of the Rockies and the higher elevations of the Sierras as winter-like weather still hangs over that region. That's a quick look at the national weather picture. And here's a look at the weather where you are.
30 degrees in downtown Buffalo. The forecast calls for a sunny day, a high 55. More about the weather on Eyewitness News this morning.
And that's a look at the weather for now and flight deck operations. We'll have more in the next half hour. Stephen Jones.
Pat Van Patten and Sally Struthers.
Antique cars are still around because their owners always change the oil. Back then, you had to do it yourself. Remember? But today, there's Jiffy Lube. In 10 minutes, the J-Team changes the oil with quality Pennzoil. Here comes the Pennzoil. Replaces the filter, fill the fluids, and lubes the chassis. Want your car to last? Welcome to Jiffy Lube.
We'll take care of you like family.
Pat, meet my antique. Sally, meet mine.
When it's time to sell your home, you want action.
And that's what you get with the Century 21 Action Warranty.
My personal promise of service, in writing.
The Century 21 Action Warranty. One more reason to come with us.
For complete details, call a participating office.
Come with us. Put your trust in #1, Century 21.
The first time I see a prospective customer, I ask them to write down the name of their long-distance company's sales rep. Most of them can't. Then they realize they've never met one. Now, I can go on about MCI's superior technology and quality and how much better our billing system is. But in my view, none of that means beans if we don't care enough to sit down with you and show you.
Until you call, you'll never know how much better a long-distance company can be. MCI. Let us show you.
If you look at the anatomy of the world's best gold card, you'll find a difference in the sum of its parts. Because the best has worldwide acceptance, 3 times that of American Express. The best has Master Legal to protect you in your travels. And the best has medical assistance when you're away from home. And that's just part of what makes us #1. The world's best gold card. Gold MasterCard. Choose the card that makes a difference.
Good morning, America. My name is Seaman Worthington. I'm stationed at Subic Bay Facilities Security Department. And I'm from South Bronx, New York. And I'd like to say hello to my families in New York, Boston, and New Jersey. And I'd also like to say, Mom, look, I'm engaged. Good morning, America.
And an engaging person she is. It's about 40 minutes past the hour right now. The business of a huge aircraft carrier like this is to carry a lot of airplanes and enough fuel and bombs for them to do their jobs anywhere they may be needed in the world. And to make everything run smoothly on a small runway at sea like this, it takes a lot of practice. Lots and lots of practice. And here's a story of the work that goes on here, told by the people who do it.
It's like being in a Volkswagen being rear-ended by a Mack truck. It's a fun sensation, a lot like an e-ticket at Disney World.
You go from about 0 to about 140 miles an hour in about 2 seconds.
You're going to full military power, but all the mechanism is handled by someone else, so you're not really in control of your own fate. We have approximately 5,000 men and 86 airplanes, but it's just it's an orchestration.
launch every hour and a half or so and recover every hour and a half. 16 to 25 aircraft will go out on a mission, and immediately after their launch, the deck is made ready for the recovery of the previous launch.
We're used to the plane touching down hard, opposed to an airliner, which is going to make a smooth flared landing. But the thing that the change is there is when you catch the wire and there's a tug that pulls you to a stop. I had a friend that was on cruise last time. He used to describe it as sex in a car wreck.
In this business, we regard day catapults and landings as fun, and night catapults and landings is terrifying.
A night carrier landing separates the men from the boys. Not everybody can do it.
As a crew in an F-14, you feel like you're out there as a couple guys just trying to stay alive and live through another one.
There's not any pilot that flies off this carrier that stays alive, that doesn't treat it from the perspective of everyone's trying to kill me and I'm looking after myself.
At nighttime, it gets kind of interesting. The real hard thing is that you've lost all the visual cues from daytime. We don't quite realize how much we depend on the seeing the horizon out there.
You see the ship is talking to you, but basically all it is one little white light bobbing on the horizon.
It's kind of like flying down a long, dark tunnel and all of a sudden being snatched to a stop at the end of it.
It's a lot more fun than daytime and night, though. Nighttime, you earn your money.
Not everyone can do it. You know, I don't want to slight my Air Force partners, but to me, anybody can put an airplane down on a 10,000-foot runway. Not everyone can be a Navy tailhook pilot.
And joining me right now is Captain Wayne Kelly, the man they call the Air Boss here on the America. Good to have you with us.
Good morning.
Just what is an Air Boss? What are the responsibilities of an Air Boss?
Chiefly, the responsibilities are the launching and recovery of all aircraft on the aircraft carrier, the direction and movement of all the aircraft on the aircraft carrier, on the flight deck, on the hangar deck, the refueling and the maintenance of the refueling equipment for all the aircraft on the
Sounds like it could be pretty stressful work.
Well, the handling, the flight deck, the flight controlling in the air, the launching and recovering gets kind of busy at times. It sure does.
What are the most crucial aspects of seeing that everything goes smoothly, and what do you do?
Perhaps getting the aircraft off on time and getting them back, the coordination of all the maintenance aspects on the flight deck, the handling of some of the men that you've talked to or will talk to in colored jerseys, with each of their duties and responsibilities. Everything on a carrier runs on a timeline, and it doesn't slow down because an aircraft goes down or has difficulties. We launch aircraft to the second on time. They go out for a specific mission for an hour and 30 to an hour and 45 minutes, and they land exactly on time. We're talking every 30 seconds, every 35 to 45 seconds, we'll have an aircraft landing on this carrier.
That's amazing.
Getting ready to turn around and go out for the next go.
That's amazing. Well, this is a day when I wish the Air Boss could do something about the warmth of the air or the coldness of it. Thanks for coming out to join us.
Thank you, sir.
You know, it's also the folks back home who serve, and in just a moment, we're going to take a look at some of the families back home.
It's out there again, waiting. Allergy season. But allergies don't have to be a big problem. Not with fast-acting Benadryl, the most prescribed allergy medication ever.
It's a great time to paint your home, thanks to the Glidden Dodge Truckload Paint Sale Sweepstakes, where you'll find great savings on Glidden interior paint, and you could also win a new Dodge Dakota pickup. It's going on now at Kmart, the saving place.
If you want to know which plant food America's best gardeners use, ask the champions in the Guinness Book of World Records.
I swear by Miracle Grow. It's the best.
I grew my world record cucumber with Miracle Grow plant food.
I know Miracle Grow gives me more vegetables than other types of plant foods.
Hey, if world champion gardeners depend on Miracle Grow, shouldn't you? Now, the Miracle Grow no-clog feeder. It's so easy. Just drop in and spray on. So fast, you'll feed your whole lawn and garden in minutes.
Just phone rent to own. Why wait for great entertainment? You can have your very own color TV or VCR today. Just phone rent to own. We have the largest selection of stereos, VCRs, and color TVs, portables, consoles, and widescreens. It's so easy. There's no credit check and no down payment. Call now for fast, free delivery and get the best today.
Where your dreams come true. Pick up the phone. Call rent to own.
Ever hear of the old bait and switch? It's a nasty trick. An appliance store advertises a great price on name brands, but it's sorry, We don't have any more. And then they try to sell you some no-name for only $50 extra. Huh? No tricks at Burnham's.
Now, this Whirlpool washer is only $399. The matching dryer only $329. Or get $100 cash back on any RCA Dementia.
And Burnham's lifetime service will save you up to $200. I say that bait stuff is for fishermen. Go to Burnham's for real value.
Good morning, America. This is Airman Brian T. Schofield aboard the USS Theodore Roosevelt station here in Norfolk, Virginia. I'd just like to say hi to my mother back in Sacramento, California.
The term hazardous duty, it's a reality for many men who serve in the U.S. Navy, many women as well, but it has a special meaning for those who wait for them back home. John Wessling from our Norfolk, Virginia affiliate WVEC-TV has a report now on Navy families.
Lloyd's of London says a U.S. guided missile frigate was attacked and hit in the Persian Gulf tonight and that there were casualties.
These women all went through a period of terror when word came that a Navy ship had been hit by a missile in the Persian Gulf. Their husbands were on the USS Kuntz, a guided missile destroyer that was in the Gulf with the USS Stark.
You know, when the Stark got hit, it's just something you have to deal with. They're in that position, and part of being in the Navy is being ready for combat at all times.
That doesn't mean it's easy.
I was crying. I was just real upset, you know, that this had happened, and I didn't know if he was dead or alive or anything, you know, and I still shake. I'm shaking now because I don't like to think about it.
A Navy family learns to deal with the reality that sailors sail into harm's way. For the sailor, a deployment means long hours, stressful work, and few of the comforts of home. At sea, a sailor's rack represents all of the privacy he has. It's a few cubic feet surrounded by reminders of what he left behind. A fiancé, a family.
That's what keeps me going out here. Things get pretty cramped out here, and everybody gets pretty aggravated at each other. But I think everybody that's in the service, if it really comes right down to it, you know, that's what it's all about. It's about the people back home. That's what we do it for.
Long separations, usually 6 months at a time, come with the job. Senior Chief Larry Burkett just came home from 6 months in the Mediterranean. His family celebrated Thanksgiving and Christmas without him.
It doesn't get any easier. You accept it. It's there. It doesn't get any easier now.
It's a rule of life for Navy wives that anything that can go wrong at home will go wrong while their husbands are gone.
Everybody I know, when they say that the kids get sick and something, the car breaks down or the air conditioner goes, something always seems to happen.
It doesn't just seem like things go wrong. Statistically, it's true.
Research indicates about 14 out of 17 times it will occur while the spouse is at sea.
That's not by accident. A 6-month separation is stressful, and the wives deal with everything that does go wrong by themselves.
Sometimes you have to be a plumber, the bill payer, the yard man, the nurse, the mom and dad.
Many of the people who face that stress are young sailors and their wives. Faith Slater was pregnant with their first child while her husband Scott was deployed on the carrier Coral Sea.
Thought it was getting easier, and then today when I got a letter from him, it made it really hard, so it kind of hurts. So.
Faith delivered just before Christmas, becoming the 4th wife in Scott's squadron to give birth while their husbands were at sea. Many Navy spouses say they wouldn't recommend the lifestyle, but they're quick to point out something else. When an international crisis breaks out, the Navy is almost always the first to respond, and there's a tremendous satisfaction in saying, "That's my husband out there." For Good Morning America, I'm John Wessling.
Thank you, John. In a minute, we'll find out about the Navy's support program for sailors' families. That's after this.
Dark, dreary morning. It makes you want to crawl back under the covers. It's coming up on 6:40 a.m. Forecast.
I was sleeping, sweetheart. How'd you go, Fred?
To the average sleepyhead, nothing's more important in the morning than that first cup of steaming, hot, delicious coffee, which is probably why more people wake up with Mr. Coffee than any other coffee maker. Mr. Coffee, the first choice of coffee lovers.
Got a little bit of fuzz? Turn on a clothes shaver. Got a whole lot of fuzz? Then you need a Clothes Shaver Plus from Windmere. The larger head and rotating blades shave off pills and fuzz for most any fabric. Cord or cordless. Makes it easy for upholstery, even drapes. It saves your clothes and money, too. The Clothes Shaver and the Clothes Shaver Plus from Windmere. Available now at a store near you.
If you love yogurt and you're crazy about fruit, get some Breyers yogurt. There's no substitute.
If you like fruit, you'll love Breyers. It's simply got more fruit than Dannon, so there's more to love.
The full of fruit yogurt.
Kids like cartoon vitamins that taste good. You want them to take a multivitamin you think is good for them. Introducing Sun-Kissed multivitamins for children, the essential vitamins kids need.
I like that Sun-Kissed fruit taste.
New Sun-Kissed multivitamins for children.
Good morning, America. My name is Chief Petty Officer Hill, stationed aboard the USS Cincinnati. I'd like to say hello to my wife, Phyllis, my daughters, Tasha, Marsha, and Tracy, and I love you all and hope to see you real soon.
It is now 7:53. The growing concern in the Navy for its families has shown itself in many ways in recent years. One of those is the creation of a high-level Navy post to specifically deal with these family members. And Mrs. Alice Stratton is the first person to serve as Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Navy for Personnel and Family Matters. And it's nice to have you with us this morning on the program. We just heard some of the problems associated with being in the Navy as a family. You have been a Navy spouse for 29 years.
Now.
29 now years. You certainly know the problems. What services does the Navy now provide that they didn't provide 29 years ago?
Well, in the last 10 years, we've brought online a number of services. One of the centers of that is what's called Family Service Centers, and they have things like seminars for pre-deployment and post-deployment seminars. We have also spouse employment assistance programs for spouses, because that's one of the biggest problems is finding jobs in our high-cost living areas for the spouses, and a number of proactive kind of preventative programs to help families deal with the stresses that are inherent in our mobile lifestyle.
All right, let's take them one at a time. The separation just must be incredible, and you certainly know.
Yes.
Your husband was a POW in Vietnam for, I think, over 6 years. How do you deal with the families on that one issue, the separation?
Well, I think that it is a constant stress and a reality, and we know that it's something that causes some serious problems unless we can get to the families and give them the help they need with some of these proactive programs.
You say some serious problems, and in the report you really specifically point out child abuse, spouse abuse, drug and alcohol abuse. How are you finding solutions to those problems?
Well, again, it's through the formal supports that we're setting up and the informal networks that we help families with, and it's communities outside the base that are helping us too. When my husband was a POW, my family survived the long-term stress just because of the combination of the community concern and interest, and there's always been interest at a high level, I think, from administration to administration for the families, and that continues today.
We heard one young woman in that report that we just saw, the one who had just had the baby, say, I wouldn't recommend Navy life for a family. But here I'm sitting with you. You have 3 sons.
Right.
What, two of them are in the
Marine Corps, yes.
Plus a daughter-in-law.
Right, in the Marine Corps.
So you certainly, I would say, think that it is a good way of life.
I think that the Navy and the Marine Corps is a fine environment to raise a family and to serve the country. But I do know that it's a price that we pay, and there are a lot of stresses that are inherent with our lifestyle.
Are we doing enough now? I mean, are the programs that are in existence now enough to make it something that you can get new families? I mean, we're always trying to get new people into the services.
Well, we're working on it. We're trying, and certainly I think that's the important thing. At the highest levels, people recognize that we need to continue to try and support these families. We have fine people on board, and we're going to continue to work harder to get the programs that they need.
This has got to be a very rewarding post, I would think. Tell me what it's been like for you being able to work with these families directly and help them.
It's absolutely. I feel like I've been getting ready for this job all my life because it's very rewarding to be able to be in a position to give advice on policy matters about things that I feel so strongly about. And
you bet, the everyday real problems. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mrs. Stratton, good to meet you, and thank you very much for being with us. And we'll be back with more from the USS Iowa when we come back.
The mood is cotton, the moment your own. Abandon yourself to the feel. So comfortable, easy and calm. Embrace the feeling. Take comfort in cotton.
Find the True Performance label on Canon Cotton Fresh No Iron Natural Blend sheets.
Pretty woman, walking down the street. Pretty woman, kind of like to me. Pretty woman, I don't believe you. You're not the truth. No one can look as good as you.
All these women lost weight at Diet Center. If you want to lose weight, call the weight loss professionals at Diet Center.
All right, time to show baby pictures,
I brought in a baby picture for you. Let's see if we can get it up there.
the baby picture? All right,
There's Annie, my wife, and Ellie, the baby.
Ellie?
It's about 5 minutes after she was born. There's Ellie again, a better picture of Ellie.
All right,
She's America's most beautiful baby girl.
And she's a little fox, too.
Selfie has been paid to ABC by Eastern Airlines, serving more of Latin America from more U.S. cities than any other airline. This summer, come fly with Eastern to a great winter vacation. Eastern, we've got your ticket to explore South America.
This is ABC.
The White Directory has helped us become America's largest Yamaha dealer. Next year, the directory will feature talking ads and residential white pages, so we purchased a full page.
If spring fever is making you anxious for summer, then get a head start on summer fun and see our good people. At Paddock Chevrolet, summer fun begins with Berettas as low as $89.99, or the full-size Caprice starting at $12,358, and S10 Blazer as low as $13,785. Plus, we have a wide selection of quality used cars and trucks. Got spring fever? We have the cure. Come see us.
'Cause we're good people too.
We're committed to your satisfaction.
You're working on your American dream, 'cause you want it to last forever. And if something is starting to show the years, you want to make it better.
Give your home new Anderson windows, because when it comes to your home, nothing but the best will do.
Come home to quality. Come home to Anderson.
Sadler Lumber Pendleton, Frontier Lumber Buffalo, closest lumber roulette, Pennsylvania, Erie Builder Supply, Olean, New York.
Women and cheating, today on Geraldo.
Every day at this time throughout the world, ships of the U.S. Navy raise their colors, and we are helping to celebrate Fleet Week here in New York Harbor. Good morning, everyone. It is Friday, April 22nd. I'm Joan Lennon, and we are here aboard the USS Iowa. It is the fourth ship to bear that name, and we're here in New York Harbor celebrating Fleet Week. It's a beautiful, beautiful morning.
Yeah, tad nippy, just a tad nippy, as our gloves and the...
nice, a little gloves will do it. And sitting in for Charlie is the new daddy, Steve Fox.
Good to be here. Coming up later on in this hour, we've got an interview with Tom Clancy, who is the best-selling author of The Hunt for Red October and other Navy novels, plus a debate about whether today's Navy is ready for tomorrow, and a look at the changing role of women in the U.S. Navy. First, though, let's go over to Spencer Christian. Spence?
Okay, Steve, I'm on the carrier USS America, of course, a bit farther south in New York Harbor. Carriers like this make up the centerpiece of U.S. naval strategy, and we're going to take a look at some of the fascinating and highly skilled activities that go on aboard carriers like this. But right now, let's go to Jed DeVal with the news. Jed?
Okay, Spencer, thank you. Good morning, everyone. It seems less and less likely President Reagan and Soviet leader Gorbachev will sign a long-range weapons treaty at the spring summit. Secretary of State George Shultz is meeting with Gorbachev in Moscow today, but has made little headway so far on negotiations to cut strategic weapons. Superficial details of the summit are falling into place, but today Gorbachev remarked, "As for the substance, we seem to be losing something." At home, the Senate today begins considering a major trade reform bill. The House approved the measure by a lopsided vote yesterday, a number of Republicans joining the Democrats. As Ann Compton reports, the margin was wide enough to overcome an almost certain veto by President Reagan.
The Democratic leadership in the House wasn't going to blink. Trade reform language giving employees 60 days warning of plant closings had plenty of support despite the threat of a presidential veto.
I just find it inconceivable almost to believe that on the basis of one little provision like this, a bill of this complexity and of this enormous importance to the country could or would be vetoed.
The vote was unambiguous to pass sweeping trade reforms that in effect change the rules of the game. They require a president to be more aggressive in prying open foreign markets for American goods. They force him to retaliate by closing the door on imports and hitting them with higher tariffs. And when American workers do lose out to foreign competition, better job training is guaranteed. President Reagan promised that a veto would not mean an end to trade reform this year.
If I do have to veto it, I will immediately call on the Congress to adopt a trade bill that is similar to this one without those things that have been added on.
But what happens when the time comes for a vote to override?
I think that you'll see that same unity exist on the House floor when and if the president vetoes the bill.
The trade reform bill took so long to write and deliver so much to members of Congress, the threat of a presidential veto seemed of little risk. Ann Compton, ABC News, Capitol Hill.
President Reagan reportedly summoned Attorney General Edwin Meese to his office this week after hearing complaints against Meese from two top Justice Department officials who've resigned. Arnold Burns reportedly told the president Meese's behavior is hurting the department. And William Weld laid out details, it is said, of an indictment he would bring against Meese if he were investigating the Attorney General. It's not known what the president later said to Meese. Armed bank robbers got away in Los Mochis, Mexico, with the help of a crowd of eager, excited onlookers. 5 people had died in the bungled bank robbery on Wednesday. The gunmen yesterday released some 40 hostages they had been holding in the bank. And then they took off with Red Cross volunteers as those watching surged through police lines and cheered the robbers on. The Red Cross volunteers taken along momentarily were freed later, unharmed. In Iran, funeral services were held yesterday for sailors who died in clashes with the U.S. Navy in the Persian Gulf earlier this week. According to Tehran Radio, mourners vowed revenge and chanted death to America. Despite tough talk, Pierre Salinger sees signs that the Ayatollah Khomeini's revolution is weakening.
The recent United States attack on Iranian gunships in the Gulf and the Iraqi reconquest of the Fall Peninsula have been serious military defeats for Iran. But the political and economic situation in the country is also disintegrating. There is rising unrest in the country against the Khomeini regime. In recent days, there have been demonstrations in Tehran, Isfahan, and other Iranian cities in which people have been heard shouting, "Death to Khomeini, death to Islam." Revolutionary Guards have been throwing Molotov cocktails into the demonstrations. Political observers point out that after the U.S. attack in the Gulf, the Iranian government would normally have called for massive demonstrations against the Great Satan. But no call was made out of fear few people would show up. Miles Copeland, a former CIA agent and expert on Iran, sees Iran falling into a difficult situation.
Well, it's bound to deteriorate. It's bound to go on deteriorating, and I think we have one of these situations that very often happens in some countries, is that they're stuck with policies that simply won't work, but there's no way out of them.
A great deal of the unrest is linked to rising unemployment. Nearly 4 million Iranians are out of work. Further unrest has been caused by the thousands of deaths resulting from the firing of Iraqi missiles at Tehran and other Iranian cities. In the recent parliamentary elections, the population showed its opposition when only 25% of the Iranians turned out to vote. The power struggle at the top of the government is still going on. The House Speaker, Hashemi Rafsanjani, is maintaining his power, but continues to be under attack from other government leaders, particularly the Minister of Interior, Ayatollah Mochomi. The internal dispute should not be interpreted as a sign that Iran is going to lose the war with Iraq. But the fragility of the internal situation demonstrates that Iran's ability to wield power is shrinking. Pierre Salinger, ABC News, London.
Democrat Al Gore has suspended campaigning for the White House. Gore yesterday praised his former rivals, Michael Dukakis and Jesse Jackson, but refused to endorse either. He promises to work for unity against the Republicans in November. In looking at today's news calendar, those two remaining Democratic contenders debate tonight in Philadelphia as they move toward next Tuesday's Pennsylvania primary. Beginning tomorrow, smoking will not be allowed on any domestic flight shorter than 2 hours in the U.S. On Sunday, the first round of France's presidential elections will be held. President Francois Mitterrand and Prime Minister Jacques Chirac are expected to win and face each other in a runoff. This evening on World News Tonight, Peter Jennings has a profile of the person of the week. And tonight at 10, 9 Central Time, 2020's Tom Jarrell reports on how 7 of America's top airmen died in a dangerous stunt. Finally, Michigan's lawmakers are debating a bill to ban surrogate mother contracts. In testimony before them this week, a surrogate mother told legislators she gave birth to not 1 baby but 2, and that the biological father took only one of the babies, a girl, and left its twin, a boy, didn't want it. The woman said she and her husband have decided to adopt the boy, now 2 weeks old. Joan?
All right, thank you, Jed. It is now 8:07, and let us go back to the supercarrier America for the weather with Slingshot Christian.
Okay, Joan, I'm on that part of the deck right now where there literally is a slingshot where the catapult launches these planes into the air. They can go from 0 to 150 miles per hour in about 2 seconds. And these are some of the men who really put their lives on the line to make everything go smoothly here. Notice now that there are different color shirts here. You got green, red, yellow, blue, purple. What do all these different colors mean?
Well, basically, it's how we identify the different jobs and functions on the flight deck. This man here, he's wearing a green shirt. He's responsible for catapults and arresting gear. I'm a yellow shirt, or aircraft director. I'm responsible for safe and efficient movement of aircraft on the flight and hangar deck. This man is a blue shirt. He's in charge of chalking and chaining the aircraft and making sure they're secure once we park them in the final spots. This man over here with the suit, he's a crash and salvage man. If something does go wrong, one of the hazards you mentioned, then it's his job to make sure we come out okay.
Let's talk about some of those hazards now. We mentioned this is risky business. How much danger are you in when you're out here? Have you had any close calls?
Well, I personally haven't had too many close calls. There have been a few, but we're well trained, and we have people like that man there to take care of us if something should go wrong. So, you know, we're used to it. We live around it every day.
Speaking of that man there, this is your birthday, I understand. So I want to give you a chance to tell me who you are, where you're from, and how old are you?
My name is Jeffrey Pierce. I'm from Tampa Bay, Florida, and I'm 20 years old today. And I'd like to say hi to Sean and Guy and my parents.
Okay, I'm glad you didn't have a bigger family. Happy birthday, and hello, Tampa Bay. All right, thanks for joining us, gentlemen. And right now, let's take a look at today's weather. It's going to be a decent day for the southeast and the southern plains. Sunny skies, warm temperatures, summer-like weather. But all up and down the Mississippi Valley and into the Ohio Valley, it's going to be gray and wet and nasty. And you talk about nasty, how about out over the Rockies, where there's going to be heavy rainfall, some flooding in low-lying areas, heavy snowfall, making for impassable roads in some of the higher elevations, a winter-like and stormy day over much of the western part of the nation. That's a look at the national weather. Here's a look at the weather where you are.
42 degrees in downtown Buffalo. Now the forecast calls for sunny day, high 55. More about the weather on Eyewitness News this morning.
More on the weather and more on the Navy from the deck of the aircraft carrier America in the next half hour. Joan?
All right, Spencer, our next guest has written best-selling novels that paint such an accurate picture of the Navy that it's hard to believe he wasn't privy to some secret inside information. His books include Red Storm Rising and his latest Patriot Games. Tom Clancy is not a Navy man, except perhaps in spirit, but he is a novelist and owner of a small-town insurance agency. It's a pleasure to have you with us. I think it's your pleasure to be here on the ship, though, right?
Well, this is my third time aboard Iowa. It's like coming home.
Yeah? What was it like to come onto the Iowa after having written about it so much?
It's nice to see that I got a couple of things right, really. I fell in love with this ship when I first built a model of her back about 30 years ago. And frankly, I think it's about the most beautiful ship the United States ever built.
You've been right up to the very top of it and right down into the...
Yeah, I've been from the floor plates to spot one with the main fire control director there. And you have to get used to ladders if you live here.
Yeah, greasy ones down below, too, I'm told, around
some of them are a little scary, yeah.
Were you like a little tot? Were you like a 7 or 8-year-old kid that was already studying these and really interested in these? Did it start at a young age?
Well, I started reading naval history when I was about in the 5th grade. My dad was a bosun's mate in the Navy, and like I said, I started building ship models when I was a kid, and it just never stopped.
Well, you've done so much research into this. I remember after your book came out, I think you were asked to come to the White House for kind of a debriefing. They couldn't figure out how you could have known so much.
It's all out in the open sources. It's really quite easy to get. We live in a free society with lots of free information. But we're not here to talk about books. This is Fleet Week. Let's talk about the Navy.
Okay. How would you say, after everything you've looked at, our Navy stacks up to the Soviet Navy?
The thing you want to remember is the United States Navy is not a collection of ships. The United States Navy is a body of people. And what makes our Navy different from the Soviet Navy are the crews. You know, the average kid aboard this ship is, say, 19, 20, 21 years old. This is his first job out of high school. We give these kids a lot of responsibility. We give them a lot of training. They're professionals. They know their job. If we send them out there and train them to do the mission that we want them to do, they'll go out and do that mission for us. That was proved earlier this week in the Persian Gulf. Give them the job they're trained to do, and they will do it for us.
So it's a spirit behind and a training and a fervor then behind our Navy that makes it different in addition to just the number of ships.
Yeah, these ships are run by professionals. The Russian ships are run by draftees. There's a difference. There's a big difference.
I'm told when they go out on maneuvers that Russian ships come right up close to our ships, and maybe vice versa, and stick to them like glue. And I guess a lot of people, the laymen, would find that rather surprising that they come so close to each other.
Well, the ocean is free for the passage of all. Of course, we do the same thing. Back a year and a half ago, the Russians lost a nuclear submarine off of Bermuda. And they sent a number of ships down to sprinkle flowers on the grave or whatever it is the Russians do. USS Iowa went out to do some shadowing then and managed to sneak up on the Russian battle cruiser Kirov, which came as kind of a nasty surprise to the Russians. So it's a game that both sides play.
Have you ever been around when these guns have gone off?
No, as a matter of fact, I was talking about that earlier today with a captain. It's something I'd like to do someday. I've never fired anything quite this big. I've never even seen how you load something all that big. It might be fun to watch.
The transformation from a small insurance owner to kind of an expert on technology, is it kind of a dream come true?
Well, I'm not the expert. The guys who drive these ships for a living are the experts. I'm just the minstrel who writes about them. But being here and all the friends I've made in the Navy, that is a dream come true.
You bet. And that's what we're here for this week, to honor all of the men and women in the service. It's good to see you.
No, it's a pleasure to be here.
All right. We'll be back in just a moment. Stay with us.
Max Pies is in the final week of our warehouse sale of expensive carpets at cheap prices.
Our warehouse is bulging with premium quality carpeting. This isn't cheap carpeting, it's expensive carpeting, cheap. We must liquidate expensive broadloom carpet that normally sells for $41 a square yard, now on sale for an incredible $9.99, including pad and installation.
Take 90 days to pay interest-free tomorrow at Max Pies.
Whatever your lifestyle,
Flanagan's Fresh Looks for your home.
Whatever your lifestyle,
Flanagan's Spring Sale. Great new looks for your home at savings of 20 to 50% on living rooms, bedrooms, dining rooms, furniture for every room, including waterbeds. It's on sale during the Spring Sale at Flanagan's, where you'll always find the best values, the finest service, and no payments until October.
Exciting, yes it is. It's Woodmark Mastery. Woodmark. Creating lovely rooms with versatility. Woodmark. Designed to your specific taste with your particular flair. Woodmark. Your custom-built creation. Our craftsmanship so rare.
Order your cabinetry now. Save 30%. In addition, receive a Thermador dishwasher free. Amherst, Foster Thayer. Olean, Lumber and Supply. Fredonia, Patton Electric.
It took a long, long time. You probably thought it would never come. You've patiently waited because when AM&A's spring sale finally comes, you know you'll find outstanding savings throughout the store. Tremendous values for the whole family. Savings for your home, too. Well, now the sale you've waited all winter for is here. AM&A's spring sale. It took a long time, but it's well worth the wait. Sale ends Saturday.
Adams on the USS Blue Ridge, stationed in Yokosuka, Japan. I'd like to say hello to my mom and dad in Las Vegas, Nevada. Good morning, America.
It is now 8:16. Huge supercarriers like the USS America are a key element in our country's defense strategy. But there are critics who say that those carriers are too costly, too vulnerable, and they could be, in fact, a liability in time of war. One of those critics is former Admiral Stansfield Turner, who used to head the CIA. He joins us this morning from ABC News in St. Louis. Here with me in New York is a man who is deeply committed to those supercarriers, former Navy Secretary John Lehman. Good morning, gentlemen. Admiral Turner, let's start with you. What do you think is the problem with the supercarrier strategy?
The first problem is that we're putting so many resources, so many dollars into carriers that we're neglecting the rest of the Navy. The Navy's getting out of balance. The second is that while the aircraft carrier is a marvelous weapon system, the large carrier has had its day. Its day was yesterday, not tomorrow. They're bound to be vulnerable. We ought to have carriers, but we ought to have lots more of them in smaller sizes, and modern technology makes that possible. You don't have to have big aircraft today. You have small aircraft with highly sophisticated missiles on them, or even smaller ships with just the missiles on them, rather than these big platforms that are so expensive and so vulnerable.
Why do you say that they are bound to be vulnerable if they have the defense systems they have, the expensive defense systems, and they have aircraft on board to defend them against enemy aircraft?
They're marvelous at defending themselves, but to begin with, in the modern age, you can find anything at sea or on land by satellites. You can send weapons in from long distances away with remote control systems today. It's going to be very difficult to defend big ships at sea. In addition, you've got to remember that an aircraft carrier is a floating ammunition depot and a floating gasoline station. There's no way you can make it invulnerable. We tried that with battleships in the 1930s. It didn't work then. It isn't going to work today.
All right, Mr. Lehman, what's your response? You hear the argument.
Well, first, the cost. The carriers make up only 2% of the Navy's total budget. And if you look at this ship was launched the year I was born. And it's going to be around another 20 or 30 years. Big ships last a long time, and the taxpayer gets a tremendous value out of them. The reason it lasts long, among other things, is look at it. 17 inches of armor, 11 inches of armor. Would you rather be aboard this kind of a ship, a big carrier, when a cruise missile hits you, or one of the Stan Turner's little frigates like we saw get sunk in the Gulf last week? Obviously, you need armor. You're going to get hit. You need the protection, the multiple layers of defense. And a carrier carries 10 different kinds of aircraft. Those A-6s that smoked those Iranian boats, that smoked all those little cheap ships out in the Libyan Navy, were the kind of sophisticated, laser-capable aircraft that had to go a very long way. They're a long way from the carrier. small aircraft like jump jets can't go very far, can't carry very much.
But what about the argument that we ought to go back to building smaller aircraft carriers and a lot more of them? In World War II, as I recall, we had something like 98 aircraft carriers. Now we're down to 14, 15. Why don't we build more?
Well, small carriers can be very useful, but never to replace the big ones. You know, in World War II, we had 4 carriers sunk, all the small ones, not one of them over 30,000 tons. Big ships like this and like the carriers, they can absorb punishment. One of these battleships took 48 direct hits and still was not disabled and kept fighting.
Because it was big and
Because
thick.
it was big and could absorb the hits and keep fighting like the big carriers can. Small carriers cannot have multiple hulls. A big aircraft carrier, Nimitz class, has 7 layers of hull, has multiple bottoms, so that, for instance, the frigate hit the mine last week, it broke the keel. There's no keel on a carrier. The carrier wouldn't have been damaged by it.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the so-called forward strategy. This is a strategy by which, in the event of a war with the Soviet Union, our naval forces would essentially take the battle to them, try and bottle them up in their waters. What do you think about that, Admiral Turner?
Well, that's a political strategy, not a military strategy. I don't know any admiral who endorses it. The problem is that you're taking the battle to where the Soviets are strongest, in their own territory. In addition, in the Atlantic, where the principal battle will be, you're forsaking a marvelous geographical advantage. The Soviet Navy, to come into the Atlantic, has to funnel itself through 2 narrow openings on either side of the island of Iceland. If we stand back there and have a forward defense, but not up where the Russians are strongest, we have great advantages of geography. The greatest, or the first, great naval battle of history was fought in just a very similar condition, on the defensive, and that's where we've got to fight the next one.
All right, Mr. Lehman, your response.
Well, Admiral Turner's out of date. If he would look at the testimony of every Atlantic Fleet commander for the last 5 years, he would see them lay out that strategy. The fact is, in military terms, there is no option to have a Maginot Line. It's naive what Admiral Turner suggests, that we can go back to the kind of strategy the French use, draw an imaginary line and stay behind it, and the Russians won't come to get us. The problem is our allies are north of that line. Norway is north of that line.
But
Turkey is east of
protecting
that
our
line.
allies is a political decision, not a military
It's not a political decision. It's a legal decision. We're bound by Article 5 of the NATO treaty to treat an attack on them as an attack on us, and we've got to go there.
All right, thank you very much. Sorry, Admiral Turner, we've run out of time, as we inevitably do. Thank you both for joining us this morning. It's now 22 minutes after. We'll be right back after this.
Good morning, everybody. 46 degrees now in downtown Buffalo at 8:23. I'm Brian Cale in the Channel 7 studios, and this is Eyewitness News this morning. One Cattaraugus County teenager has been killed, 3 others injured in a car crash. It happened in the town of Olean last night when a car driven by 17-year-old Scott Cole of Allegheny left East River Road. He's now being treated at Olean General Hospital and faces possible criminal charges of speeding and DWI. 17-year-old Dustin Fleming of Allegheny died in that crash, while 2 other passengers were injured, one of them critically. Kenmore Village police are denying they set up Buffalo Councilman Alfred Coppola when they arrested him for DWI early yesterday. Coppola was also accused of speeding when he was arrested for going 42 in a 30-mile-an-hour zone along Kenmore Avenue. He was charged with drunk driving after he reportedly refused a breathalyzer test. Coppola says he wasn't drunk.
Personally, I'm a hard-working councilman, and on the other hand, I'm just an average guy too, you know, and I will stop at the restaurant and I will have my beers, and I just don't appreciate that when you come out and you get in your car, they pull right up, and sure, you know, you just had 3 beers and all of a sudden they're writing you up. I didn't appreciate that at all.
Coppola will appear in Kenmore Village Court on May 10th. The charges are second-degree murder and weapons possession against a Winslow Street man. This after the shooting death of a nurse's aide outside Millard Fillmore Hospital. 28-year-old Carol White was gunned down as she left work early yesterday. A shooting witnessed by her mother, who was there to pick her up. It was a short time later that Gaston Randall turned himself in to Precinct 6 police.
When he went over there, he made some admissions to the detectives, and he also had told them that he had taking some kind of caustic substance, so they brought him right over to the emergency room of the Erie County Medical Center.
Randall's described as a former boyfriend of the victim, and they had reportedly broken off their relationship only a month ago after several domestic disputes. A big job for Johnstone. That story next.
Eyewitness News this morning is brought to you by Oldsmobile and your nearby Oldsmobile dealers.
This is the all-new Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme, and this is the new Cutlass Supreme game going on right now. Game brochures are at your Oldsmobile dealer or participating McDonald's. Understand so far? Good. Play the Cutlass Supreme game. You could win an all-new Cutlass Supreme SL or $1,000 in cash. And you'll get a coupon for cash back on a new Cutlass Supreme. Game pieces are at your Olds dealer. You should go there. Any question? Good.
Exciting, yes it is. It's Woodmug Mastery. Woodmug. Creating lovely rooms with versatility. Woodmug. Designed to your specific taste with your particular flair. Woodmug. Your custom-built creation. Our craftsmanship so rare.
Order your cabinetry now. Save 30%. In addition, receive a Thermador dishwasher free. Amherst, Foster Thayer, Java Village, Fisher Brothers Kitchens and Baths, Batavia, Ben's Kitchens.
This is the ultimate in fine upholstery. Genuine top-grain leather. Beautiful, comfortable, long-wearing. At Gardner Furniture, we understand leather and the quality of construction that must go into a fine piece of furniture. Choose an elegant piece of leather from our leather gallery now and save 33% or more on the finest selection of leather in town. Gardner Furniture, known for quality you can trust since 1919.
He currently heads Buffalo State College, but reports today say Dr. Bruce Johnstone will soon head the whole state university system here in New York. University trustees are expected to name Johnstone chancellor when they meet next week. Johnstone says he wants the job. He would replace Clifton Wharton Jr. as chief administrator of the nation's largest university system, one having 64 campuses and 370,000 students. The future of Chamber President Eric Swider could be decided on Monday. That's when the board of directors next meets, and our Anthony Moore says members have received reports on 2 investigations into Swider's handling of chamber funds. The probes include allegations of charging family travel expenses to chamber credit cards. Moore says criminal charges are not expected to result from those probes, but Swider's resignation could. Some bad news at the Buffalo Zoo. The new state budget does not include an expected $150,000 in operating funds. And directors there say they may have to reduce visiting hours or raise admission prices to make up for that shortfall. Back with the weather after this.
When you use a Snapper, you get more than just a fast start. You get Snapper's worldwide reputation for rugged dependability and innovative features like our Snapperizer, Thatcherizer, and Pack and Sack. And Snapper's trimmers let you finish the job right. With real weed-busting power that also converts to an edger or brush cutter. It's a snap with Snapper.
Snapper available at VIP Service Buffalo, Bison Turf Incorporated Amherst, and White Sales and Service Frewsburg.
This is my favorite white bread. It's tasty as can be. Its name is Fiber Goodness, and it's good for me.
Of course my Fiber Goodness bread is good for them. It's baked with natural vegetable fiber. As much fiber as 100% whole wheat bread. But Fiber Goodness has the taste and texture of white bread. That's why.
Its name is Fiber Goodness, the white bread for me.
Stroman Fiber Goodness. I make sure the Fiber Goodness is baked in.
Another optical company thinks making glasses in 1 hour is news. Guess what? It's old news. For over 35 years, Council Opticians has been making glasses in most cases while you wait. Plus, you get the finest quality at the lowest prices anywhere. Council Opticians, helping you see better for over 35 years. So, what else is new?
Buy 1 pair of glasses, get 1 free with coupon in White Directory or in Friday's Gusto.
46 degrees in downtown Buffalo. The humidity 66%. The barometer 29.85. It's steady. Wind from the northwest at 5. We're in for a sunny day. A high of 55. Tonight partly cloudy, a low of 38. Tomorrow cloudy and windy with showers. The high 60. And Sunday cloudy, colder showers. Chance of flurries and the high 45. It's called iridology, and those people who believe in it say it's a science that reveals a lot about our physical well-being. This morning in AM Buffalo, we'll meet an iridologist who will tell us how our eyes mirror what's going on in the rest of our bodies. That's it for now, but we'll have an update during AM Buffalo. More news on these and other stories on Eyewitness News at noon. I'm Brian Cale. Now back to New York and more of Good Morning America.
From engineering department on board the USS Carl Vincent. I'd like to say hello to my wife, daughter, and newborn son, and good morning, America.
Good morning.
And good morning, everyone. I'm Jen Lennon. It is Friday, April 22nd, and we are here aboard the USS Iowa. And sitting in for Charlie Gibson this morning, our newest father in the Good Morning America family, Steve Fox.
It's a pleasure to be here, though it is a tad nippy.
Yes, right. He had a little baby girl yesterday. I'm wearing this hat here that says USS Iowa for a reason, so that you'll call me Admiral. Thank you very much, sir.
He wants to outrank me.
We are sitting here aboard the USS Iowa in the New York Harbor. Just behind us is the Hudson River in New Jersey. We are here helping to celebrate Fleet Week. And in this half hour, we are going to have the highest ranking woman in the Navy, and she happens to be a Rear Admiral.
She, I think, is the highest ranking person on board this ship right now.
That's right.
Maybe even outranking you. Now, I know you know this fact. Here's a neat little Navy factoid. The USS Iowa was built mainly by women.
That's
here
right.
At the Brooklyn Navy Yard during the 1940s. In fact, its size was determined by the height of the Brooklyn Bridge. It had to be able to... The Verrazano Bridge?
Yeah.
It had to fit underneath that to get out to war.
Yeah.
And its width was determined by the width of the Panama Canal.
It's only a foot smaller.
Yeah, then the canal sneaks right through it. Anyhow, we'll be back with more from the Iowa, but first, Spencer Christian over on the USS America. Spence?
Hi, Steve. Yes, I'm glad you pointed out that the Iowa is not the only Navy vessel in New York for Fleet Week. I'm on board the aircraft carrier America, and we're going to see more about how things work on this floating airport in this half hour, but right now we'll see how Paula Zahn works with the news. Paula?
Looks like you're warming up out there. Good morning, everyone. Israel is marking its 40th anniversary this week, but amid the celebrations, there is more violence. Bill Blakemore reports on the latest repercussions from the assassination of a high-level PLO official believed to have been carried out by Israeli commandos.
An unusually large crowd of Muslims gathered at Jerusalem's Al-Aqsa Mosque today for Friday services, estimated some 10,000 people, to hear special prayers for the assassinated PLO military leader Abu Jihad. Abu Jihad was the most popular of all Palestinian leaders for many of the Arabs living in Israel's occupied territory. Several hundred of the worshippers began demonstrations near Al-Aqsa and the Dome of the Rock shrine as soon as the service ended. There were many black flags of mourning and Palestinian flags, which are outlawed in Israel. Israeli police entered the mosque precincts to disperse the crowd with rubber bullets. Several Palestinians injured in the clash were taken into the Al-Aqsa Mosque itself, where a doctor was then brought by the Israelis to check on their condition. More than 20 were arrested, but a number of the demonstrators disappeared into the Al-Aqsa Mosque to avoid arrest. Israeli police report 5 of their number were injured as stones were thrown by the demonstrators. Bill Blakemore, ABC News, Tel Aviv.
And a program note, next week Nightline with Ted Koppel will broadcast all week from Israel for a detailed look at troubles there. Secretary of State George Shultz is in Moscow wrapping up 2 days of talks with Soviet officials. In a meeting this morning, Soviet leader Gorbachev told Shultz the superpowers are marking time on critical issues. Both sides say it's unlikely an agreement on long-range nuclear missiles will be ready for signing at next month's superpower summit. A woman collecting seashells on a beach in Scotland has discovered what are said to be sensitive documents about U.S. Navy nuclear submarines. According to the newspaper, The Scotsman, more than 300 pages were found last Friday, containing a breakdown of the U.S. Navy's nuclear force based at Holy Loch. Navy spokesmen so far have refused any comment. Experts say the stealth bomber drawing released by the Air Force this week includes deceptions and deletes key elements of the plane. According to the Los Angeles Times, aircraft engineers say the rendering is deliberately inaccurate to keep vital information secret. A new report finds the best protection for heterosexuals against becoming infected with the AIDS virus is to avoid having sex with anyone in a high-risk group. Scientists report the chances of becoming infected without using a condom is about 1 in 5 million if the partner does not belong to high-risk groups like intravenous drug users and homosexual men. And tomorrow on ABC's Health Show, a report on how mental stress can strain your heart as well as your psyche. And that's the news for now. Steve?
Thanks, Paula. By the way, we did a quick fact check, and in fact, it was the Brooklyn Bridge that this boat was built to fit underneath. It was determined by the size of that bridge. We'll be right back with Spencer Christian with the National Weather Report from the USS America. Stay with us.
Never forget that night.
Traffic alert.
My throat was so sore it hurt to talk.
Try Sucret Spray.
Maximum strength Sucret Spray with diclonine lasts twice as long as the other brand.
Flight 8 clear for takeoff.
Maximum strength Sucret Spray lasts twice as long.
Aquafresh case history, 75.
I don't know much about fluoride, but I do know that I've never had a cavity in my whole life. I'm not an expert on plaque either, but my dentist says that my gums are healthy. I've been brushing with Aquafresh since I was a kid.
Aquafresh, more than cavity protection, triple protection.
Well, we showed you how the planes are catapulted off the aircraft carrier. This is how they're stopped when they come back down to land. These hooks on these steel cables give you a sudden stop, and if you miss that cable, you have to take off and come back and try it again. Of course, one thing that helps in takeoffs and landings is wind, and here's a man who knows a little bit about the wind and the other elements, Lieutenant Commander Ken Eversole, who is a meteorologist aboard the America, and it's good to have you here with me this morning.
Thank you, Spencer.
I wish we could have worked up a little bit warmer day for us.
It's a good day for flying. I wish it could keep some of this weather and take it with us when we go back out.
I understand your nickname is Black Cloud.
Yes, it is.
You want to tell me how that came about?
It came along with the job. After the stormy weather we've seen the last couple weeks, however, I think the name's mine to keep. I'm not going to get rid of it.
Well, after today, it could be mine to keep also. I got some maps to show you here. It'll give you a look at what's happening around the nation weather-wise today. This is a satellite photo taken just a couple of hours ago. Of course, it shows some of the movement overnight, too. And you can see clouds moving up into the Ohio Valley and the Mississippi Valley. A lot of showers and thunder showers in that region. Large area of clear sky should prevail over the central and southern plains. And out west, just a mess over the Rockies. A lot of cloud activity there. And that represents snowfall over the higher elevation and some rain in the lower elevations. Down in the southeast, so it looks pretty good, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Warm day in the southeast and clear and cooler up in the northeast.
High is going to reach into the 90s down over Florida and portions of Texas today, but up in the north central states, it's still going to be winter-like. That's a quick look at the national weather picture. Here's a look at the weather where you are.
46 degrees in downtown Buffalo. The forecast calls for a sunny day, a high of 55. More about the weather on Eyewitness News at noon.
I would imagine that weather conditions are critical to the operations here on the carrier.
Yes, they are. There's no question that we're here primarily to support the 9 squadrons that are embarked, to keep them flying safely. That's our main job on board.
Well, you don't start looking at weather as early in the morning as I do, though.
Oh, I'm not so sure. We keep our office open 24 hours a day when we're at sea.
Oh, I guess you do then. Thanks for coming out to join us this morning.
Thank you.
We're going to take a look at the role of women in the Navy in just a moment.
Honey, your turn to do the dishes.
All right.
Today, Harv.
I'm mowing the lawn.
Now, Sleeping Beauty. And get them so clean they shine.
Shine? With this?
It's shine time. Hang on, Harv.
But this is dried cheese.
Look, Joy attacks that mess and cleans all the way to the shine.
No cheese and lots of shine.
Leave it to a lemon. Lemon Fresh Joy gets dishes so clean, they shine.
It's a great time to paint your home, thanks to Kmart and the Glidden Dodge Truckload Paint Sale Sweepstakes, where you'll find great savings on Glidden interior paint, like spread satin for just $8.57 and spread enamel just $10.87. But that's not all. You could win one of 10 brand new Dodge Dakota pickups. So get to Kmart and watch your money go farther than ever before. Kmart, the saving place.
And I don't want anyone driving my XT while I'm away. You understand?
The new Subaru XT6 has a powerful 6-cylinder engine, computerized full-time 4-wheel drive, and a design which makes it hard to resist.
Somebody drove my car. Who was it?
Besides owning a great car, your Subaru dealer can now save you a great deal of cash.
Did you hear the news?
At last, April Freshness is in a dryer sheet, introducing new Downy sheets, and their biggest fan is Bernard.
Whoa, Katie, your blanket needs April Freshness. Downy sheets make everything April Fresh. Katie, see how April Fresh my stuff is? You said it. Your blanket's history.
They're here. New Downy dryer sheets for April freshness from your dryer.
Good morning, America. I'm Navy Counselor Chief Dee Sherman on Naval Air Station Adak, Alaska. I'd like to say good morning to everyone on the East Coast.
Well, if you think that the Navy is only a man's world, things are changing today. And here's a look at what life is like for Navy women today from Bob Zelnick of ABC News.
You better lie down and take it easy. You've got a temperature of 103.
The old war movies told the story. Women in war served as nurses, clerks, and typists, not much different from the civilian workplace. The armed forces were male institutions. 15 years ago, for example, women made up only about 1% of Navy personnel. Prodded by activist women's groups, Congress forced changes, which the Navy accepted with mixed feelings and mixed results. The numbers have changed dramatically. Today, 9% of the Navy is female. Women attend the Naval Academy. They fly planes, fix helicopters, operate radar.
The role of women in the Navy, as with society in general, has become more technical.
More women also serve aboard ships. Last year, when the frigate Stark was hit by an Iraqi missile, more than 200 sailors on the Arcadia, which serviced the Stark, were women. But last year, a study of women in the Navy found appalling evidence of sexual harassment, poor grievance machinery, and a general feeling among women that they were not part of the Navy team.
There are some people who feel that women should not be in this man's Navy.
One big reason is that the armed forces are organized for combat, a role prohibited by law to women. Many Navy women would like to serve in combat.
We train together, and we're trained to do the same mission, so why not let us do it?
But political leaders have their doubts.
And my gut feeling is I do not think that this country is ready to put women into frontline combat.
Last December, former Navy Secretary James Webb ordered reforms designed to cure the worst abuses while providing more opportunities for women. Ships like oilers, supply, and ammunition vessels were open to females for the first time. Women may now operate shore-based surveillance aircraft. Tough new procedures to curb harassment were ordered. Another kind of problem probably traces back to Adam and Eve. A study at the Naval Hospital in San Diego last year showed a high pregnancy rate among Navy women, including single women.
There were 41% of the women registering for prenatal care were single at the time that they registered, and this concerned us.
The pregnancy rate was particularly high for women based aboard ships. To commanders, this means unplanned losses of personnel, critical skills suddenly missing from ships at sea. Privately, nearly everyone involved argues that the Navy must offer instruction on how to avoid unwanted pregnancies. But getting into subjects like birth control and abortion could offend conservative supporters of a strong military on Capitol Hill.
Women are now a vital part of the all-volunteer services. The Navy would be hard-pressed to get along without their skills. The immediate question is how to make the present system work better. In the longer run, the question is, how far can Navy women really advance without being eligible for combat? This is Bob Zelnick for Good Morning America.
And thank you, Bob. Joining me now is the highest-ranking woman in the United States Navy. She is Rear Admiral Bobby Hazard, Director of Manpower and Personnel in the Organization of Joint Chiefs of Staff. And it's good to have you with us. I think you're the highest-ranking officer on the ship today.
I think so.
Answering a couple of questions that Bob brought up in his report, do you think women ever will be able to go into combat?
It's hard for me to say because it's hard to be able to forecast what the American people are ultimately going to decide on that issue. And it is absolutely at root a national determination, Joan.
One of the, I guess, the overriding problems that the report discussed was this of harassment. Mm-hmm. And there are now these steps being taken to try to correct that problem. How effective are those steps?
Let me back up just a little, if I may, because harassment is a social phenomenon that minorities experience in virtually every environment. And the more you increase numbers, the more familiar people become with working with those minorities, the more that phenomenon disappears. And I'm confident that we have made enormous strides in overcoming that problem, and we're going to continue to do so. We have addressed recently the fact that it still exists in some locations for some people, and we have put teeth into the educational system and into the mechanism for reporting and addressing it.
Yeah, and about the mechanism for reporting and addressing it, which goes, I think, around your immediate boss, but not that far up. How much faith can the woman have in that system, that there won't be any retaliation or that they will be able to still advance?
I think that we can place increasing faith in that system. There has been an enormous commitment from the top down, and that's where it has to start.
Yeah.
And everyone is getting the message. And it's going to really fade as a practice through education and through societal change, and that takes time.
We've talked about so many problems in the report. What about the benefits? How do you entice a young woman today who is contemplating a career in the Navy?
I think that the Navy affords, in fact, the military services afford a wonderful opportunity, first of all, for personal contribution. You have to want to contribute something to the nation and to the people of this nation. And then if you have that starting point, you have the opportunity for personal growth, for training, for education.
And thinking of growth, how far can a woman expect to go in the Navy?
Well, you can expect to go to flag rank if you're willing to make that kind of a career commitment and put that effort into it. And for our enlisted women who have increasing numbers in the Navy, you can make Master Chief and Warrant Officer and the Limited Duty Officer. I think the sky is there for the grabbing.
Well, you're there certainly to serve as the inspiration.
Well, thank you.
Rear Admiral, thank you very much for meeting you this morning.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
And we'll be back. Stay with us.
Dad, where does bologna come from?
Where does bologna come from? Well, let's see. Looks to me like Oscar Mayer bologna comes from beef and pork, some curing, seasoning, and water.
Is that all?
Yeah. No other stuff like colorings or filler? That's it?
So bologna comes from Oscar Mayer.
I guess anything this good couldn't come from anywhere else.
In a new survey, we asked 1,000 doctors if stranded in the middle of nowhere, would they want Tylenol, extra strength Tylenol, Advil, or Bayer? Doctors chose Bayer, 3-to-1 over extra strength Tylenol. Bayer, the wonder drug that works wonders.
Del Monte stewed tomatoes come in more varieties than any other national brand, like Mexican style, Italian style, and Cajun style. These do not. Does your family deserve anything less? Del Monte, we grow quality.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event from the Oldsmobilers. Introducing the Cutlass champions. First, the all-new front-wheel drive Cutlass Supreme, wearing an affordable base price. And in this corner, the exciting special edition, Cutlass Sierra XC, appearing for a limited time. And finally, the Cutlass Calais, maximum performance combined with economy. Three great champions, now available during the main event at the Oldsmobilers. It's a knockout.
At the Paper Cutter, every day is a special occasion for savings because we'll save you up to 30% off on festive party supplies, up to 50% off office supplies, 35% off New York Times bestsellers, and 40% off gift wrap and greeting cards. So come to the Paper Cutter today for selection and savings that are almost unbelievable.
Good morning, America. I'm Petty Officer First Class Ed Cahill, stationed with the Naval Mobile Construction Battalion 7 in Sigonella, Sicily. I'd like to say good morning to my wife and kids in Long Beach, Mississippi.
We're back on board the USS Iowa with Zach Fisher, the honorary chairman of Fleet Week, this four-day extravaganza that's brought the Navy and some Coast Guard guys here to New York.
I want to tell you, this Fleet Week was long overdue.
Why did it come to New York after years in San Francisco? And what's going on?
Well, we were very lucky. San Francisco turned it down. New York being the greatest port in the country, New York an old Navy town. It's just a matter of history repeating itself.
What kind of events are planned for Fleet Week?
Well, the sailors are really kept busy. They'll be at Yankee Stadium tomorrow with 2,000 sailors at the game. We'll have a crew party on board the Intrepid for them. There'll be sea air rescue by the United States Coast Guard.
Demonstration.
That's right. And then the Navy diving exhibition right around the Intrepid.
Now, what can the public see if they want to come on down?
Oh, they'll see all those exhibitions.
Yeah, but they can come on board some of the ships as well, yes?
They can go on board from today on about the 11 ships that are here, including the Iowa and the America, most exciting ships. Let me tell you a story about the Iowa.
Quick story.
All right, the Iowa saved the Intrepid 44 years ago. She was standing right next to her. The kamikazes knocked the Intrepid out with 75 lives lost. The Iowa shot the rest of the kamikazes down and saved it from being destroyed.
You know, I am not sure that New York City is ready for 9,000 sailors over this weekend, but we'll see what goes on. You looking forward to it?
I sure am. With the officers last night, with them tonight and tomorrow night, and they are just so pleased about how the sailors feel about New York. It'll be a tradition.
Well,
they'll be coming back.
Year after year, perhaps. Thanks very much, Zach Fisher. We'll be right back with the Naval Air Training Command Choir after this.
Good morning.
The day's looking new and bright.
It's Monday again.
And you're gonna start it right.
Traffic's tied up.
'Cause there's Folgers for you that's decaffeinated too. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
A decaffeinated? And I'm waking up?
Nothing brightens your morning like mountain-grown Folgers decaffeinated. Mountain-grown coffee beans have more enticing aroma and richer flavor than any other kind.
Folgers so rich and good, the day starts like it should.
You know something? It's starting to look a lot better out there.
The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
Decaffeinated.
Lovely body.
I've always been passionate about beautiful hair, so I'm proud of my new Vidal Sassoon moisture-rich and extra body shampoos and conditioners for clean, sexy hair.
Thank you, Vidal.
You don't look good. We don't look good.
3 of the best-kept secrets from your Western New York GMC truck dealers. Prices for a new GMC truck start as low as $6,840 for the S15 pickup. GMC truck now makes an S15 Jimmy with an available 4.3-liter V6 engine for more power than ever before. And the full-size pickup Sierra is one of the most advanced pickups to hit the market. Plus, save all year long with option value packages, up to $1,900 on S15 extended cab pickups. And now get $500 cash back on select models. The secrets are out at your Western New York GMC truck dealer today.
Check the base curve on this lens.
At Lens Crafters, skilled laboratory technicians using the latest equipment in our in-store laboratories mean we can custom grind your exact prescription in about 1 hour. Listen.
They put new lenses in my old frames in about 55 minutes.
They were able to make a tool that's required to make my glasses.
I got my glasses in 47 minutes.
Very professional people.
Lens Crafters, quality eyeglasses in about an hour. Maple Ridge Center in Amherst on Maple Road, open Sundays and evenings.
Hi, this is Pedester Nestor Alvarez off the USS Reef saying hello to everybody back in El Paso, Texas. Good morning, America.
To help us close our program this morning, we have asked the Naval Air Training Command Choir and its director, Lieutenant Commander John Roberts, to join us here on the deck of the Iowa. And good morning, sir.
Good morning.
And the young men and women of the Navy and the Coast Guard, I can't forget, what kind of jobs do they have?
All of the people here are flight students and instructors for the Navy and Coast Guard.
All right, and what are you going to sing for us today?
Our first song will be America the Beautiful.
All right, take it away.
Thank you.
Skies for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties, above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood. From sea to shining sea, America, America, America.
Is it a challenge to keep things neat and clean at your home? Now, Kmart brings you the amazing Carpet Machine Plus by Bissell. You can own your own machine and clean carpets, upholstered furniture, your car, and so much more. The Carpet Machine Plus shoots warm cleaning solution, while powerful suction pulls out liquid and dirt, yet it won't soak carpet or upholstery. Clean your entire home anytime you like and get professional-looking results. Own a Bissell Carpet Machine Plus, $159.97 now at Kmart.
What would you do for a Klondike bar?
Would you make monkey sounds? Monkey sounds? Gee, I don't think so. Got the Klondike right here. Rich vanilla ice cream smothered in thick chocolate. No, that's a baboon. I think you've drifted into gorilla. That's got it.
For that chocolate-coated ice cream, loaded big and thick, no room for a stick. What would you do for a Klondike bar?
You don't have to act like a monkey anymore. Okay, fine.
Jed Duval now with a brief look at what is making news this morning. Jed?
Joan, the Senate today takes up the trade bill that sailed through the House with more than enough votes to override the veto that President Reagan promises. Pennsylvania primary next Tuesday, hence debate tonight in Philadelphia, Jackson versus Dukakis. The Air Force's stealth bomber is very, very secret, so much so the Los Angeles Times says this morning that the drawing released this week of it is a fake, a deception to keep the secret of what the stealth really looks like. Clear air in the air starting tomorrow. No smoking on any airliner in the United States on a scheduled flight of 2 hours or less. Those who persist in lighting up face fines of as much as $1,000. It's $2,000 for tampering with the smoke alarm in the lavatory. The Orioles are to play in Kansas City tonight against the Royals and against the possibility that the Birds will lose their 16th in a row. That's our news. Here's Spencer Christian with the forecast.
Okay, Jed, it's a breezy, cold day here in New York, and here's what's happening around the rest of the nation. It's going to be sunny and mild down in the southeast, over much of Texas and the southern plains, but it's going to be a nasty, nasty, stormy day out west over the Rockies, a mixture of rain and snow. Looks like Old Man Winter is still there, and that's a look at the weather.
All right, thank you, Spencer. We will see you Monday morning, and congratulations once again to you, Mr. Fox, on the birth of your little daughter.
Happiest day of my life, no doubt about it.
And maybe one day she will be Admiral Alicia Fox.
The President of the United States, Alicia Fox. I like the sound of that.
What else do we have next week?
Next week, coming up on the program, Bruce Willis, the Smothers Brothers, and a conversation with former President Jimmy Carter, a Navy man himself.
And, of course, we want to give special thanks to the U.S. Navy this morning, and to all those aboard the Iowa here and the super carrier, the America, and to all those who serve in uniform all around the world. And you have a great weekend. We will see you Monday morning.
Let's let them sing us off, I guess, huh?
Anchors away, my boys, anchors away. Farewell to college joys, we sail at break of day, 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 day. Through our last night on shore, drink to the full, until we meet once more. Here's wishing you a happy voyage home. Heave-a-ho there, sailor, everybody drink up while you may. Heave-a-ho there, sailor, for we're gonna sail at break of day. Drink away, 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 for we sail at break of day. Hey! Blue of the seven seas, gold of God's great song.
Aerial photography provided by Airship Fuji and Fuji Photo Film USA Incorporated.
Be done, done, done.
When Buffalo musician Frankie Shinta and his family performed for President and Mrs. Reagan at a White House conference on drug-free America, Eyewitness News and Ann Edwards were there live to bring you all the emotion of the moment.
And thank your station, WKBW from Buffalo, New York, for making sure this went around the country.
Drug-free America. When the message is important, expect the best. From Channel 7's Eyewitness News, #1 in Western New York.
Rudolph Nureyev and Friends, April 22nd, 8 p.m. at Shea's Performing Arts Center. Reserve seats on sale now. Shea's box office.
Before you pick up your phase circular, prepare yourself to be blown away by the savings. Here's just a few of the bargains you'll find.
Aquanet styling mousse and hairsprays are on sale as low as 99 cents each. Choose